Okay, Debbie, here comes a clean shot. Friday show, Friday call-in show. I am Vinnie Tortorich. Folks, your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed. The Friday show, and it's a call-in show. So we're going to be talking to people that may have problems. They may have updates. They may have success stories. I never know. I basically just plunk it down and we listen to what they have to say. So, Chris, are you there?
I'm here.
Chris, before we bring anyone in, I want to talk to you for a second about an idea.
Uh-oh.
Can I toss an idea out to you?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, up until COVID, I used to go on stage a lot, to varying degrees, right? One place people would see me is like at a KETO Con type event, right? I used to do those. I know this sounds crazy, but Mike August, the guy that books Adam Carolla, would get me booked into comedy clubs around LA, like on a Sunday night, an off night. And I would go in there with Gina Grad. Gina would talk about it on her morning radio show. And we would literally fill up a house full of people who wanted to lose weight in a comedy club. We would have to explain before the show, this is not a comedy show. Although I would try to do a couple of jokes or whatever in case someone slipped through the doors. And it worked out really well.
Did you call it laugh your butt off? Oh.
Wow. Really?
Where's the rim shot? Where's the rim shot?
Wrong one. There we go. That's
if you just leave a pun hanging out there like that, I have to take advantage of it. You should know that by now.
All right. Anyway, and then Chris, as you know, a big business for me was doing corporate events. You know, a big events. I would literally travel to Europe sometimes to go do these corporate events. And a lot of that dried up during COVID. And I never really went back and pursued it again. But lately, people have been asking me why I never show up anywhere anymore. And it's because no one's really asking anymore. And when they do, it's usually low carb this or low carb that. And they want you to show up for free. I don't know where people get off. Hey, show up for free, and then we'll sell these tapes into eternity, and we'll never pay you a dime, right? And I know a lot of people do that. A lot of these doctors do it because they have to do these continuing education things, and somehow they get those credits for that. But for a guy like me, there's nothing in it for me to fly to Denver or anywhere else to go, or San Diego or anywhere to do these things, because it would cost me thousands of bucks to get there, and they don't even want to pay your ticket. So why would I do that? That's not good business. I might as well stay here and talk to people on the internet. And then we started talking to people like Kurt Lapierre. It was like, hey, why don't you come up, to North Dakota? We could do a thing, get a few people to show up, do a meetup. And I've done a bunch of these meetups where there might be anywhere from 30 to 60 or 70 big time fans that'll show up for the weekend, and the meetups are always great. And by the way, meetup, Chris, I know you know this is spelled MEAT.
Well, obviously.
Yeah. My mom would always get upset by this. She's like, honey, they spelled meat wrong in meetup. She would give me a call and let me know about that. And I would have to explain to her, Vinnie, it was like, Ma, it's a double entendre. They're doing a thing. It's clever. And, so she finally came around. But here's a thought, Chris, and you're welcome to laugh, or you're welcome to, and we might even ask our guest today what they think. What if I went to the middle of the country and did a thing, just a stage thing, maybe even buy stage time, tell a club owner, give me the door. I will pay to be here, whatever, and just buy the stage time and see if I can fill out the audience. I'm not really sure of what I'm bird's eyeing this thing. And I'm thinking, I know this is going to sound crazy, Chris. Branson, Missouri.
Branson.
Any thoughts?
Have you been watching too much of Ozark, or?
Whenever I mentioned this to Serena, she said, "Where's Branson?" I said, "Remember the show Ozark? It's in the middle of the country. It's Branson. That is middle America." And I know there's a lot of dinner clubs there. I know that, comedians go there, and my act is clean, right? But I won't be doing an act. Maybe we could call it Laugh Your Ass Off for Branson, right? Or some kind of, I think middle America would want something. Am I talking out of my ass here? Or do you think this is something? Thoughts?
No, I mean, look, if you can make indoor mini golf and a show about David from the Bible work for years on end in Branson, there's no reason that you can't make something else work. The question is something like that, I don't want to say possible or even doable, but something that a city, it sounds like I'm talking crap on Branson, right? But I think of Branson as blue collar Vegas, right?
Well, look, I'm guessing Branson is somewhat like Vegas without the gambling, right? It's clean Vegas, right? Or am I getting that wrong?
So don't a lot of people go to Branson and then get on like a riverboat casino and stuff? The only concern that I have about Branson itself would be, if it's a show about not being fat in a city surrounded by food that is designed to make you fat. Is that something that's welcome? Right. It would be kind of like going to Las Vegas and being like, "Hey, I have an anti-gambling show. Who wants to put me on in their casino?" Right. Not that that's necessarily the point of Branson, but it is something that is definitely popular if you look at food and food culture in terms of the city itself.
Well, listen, I got paid a lot of money to go to where did Anne Frank live? What's the city? Help me out here. Europe. Why can't I do it?
Amsterdam.
I got paid tons of money.
Because when I think Amsterdam, Anne Frank is who comes to mind.
Yeah. The city with the whores and Anne Frank. That city.
Not legalized drugs, not the red light district, not it being underwater, not wooden shoes.
A lot of bicycles, a lot of drugs, and Anne Frank, that town. Yeah. I went there, and got paid a lot of money to go there to do one night. As a matter of fact, they were like, "We want you here to do this so badly," that they paid for a ticket for Serena and Tallulah. This is when Tallulah was still in high school. And it's like, "Well, can I bring my family?" And it's like, yeah, we'll pay for all of them. And there was a $10,000 check on top of that. Right. So yeah, cash and prizes was probably 15 grand or more. So the point is if Amsterdam will have me, why wouldn't Branson? Right.
Well, so here's the question. Is this something you want to like go and have 5 shows in a row? Like what are you thinking here?
I'm thinking do it once and see what kind of reception it is.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you could do that literally in any city around the country, right? We could find a venue that.
Right. But the reason I was coming up, I'm thinking of middle America where people can get to it. Plus people are there. And, like if I went and promoted it on Corolla, if I said, "Hey man, I'm going to be in Branson," everyone gets what that is. My parents get what Branson is.
Right. As opposed to North Fork, South Dakota, or whatever it is. Right.
Right. Right. And look, my parents would go, my parents don't travel as much anymore. They're getting a little too elderly, but they would go, "Oh, last week we saw, Harry Connick Jr. in Branson, and we saw Frank Sinatra Jr. And,
man, it's got to be nice to have a parent so famous that you can sing their music as
and
them.
Fill up a house. Yeah.
And fill a house.
Yeah. Look, I mean, they would go see all of them, like the kids of, in Branson. They weren't even looking at Frank Sinatra. They're looking at Frank Sinatra Jr. doing Frank Sinatra songs, right? And I could go on, just the juniors of everyone. I'm pretty sure if Frank Stallone shows up in Branson and just goes, hey, Stallone Jr. is here.
I don't know. You'd be competing with Jimmy Fortune and the Branson Murder Mystery Show, apparently.
Chris, well, I want to look into this. Yeah. I could be way off.
Look, if you're not trying to be a speaker in residence, right? If you're not trying to do the Penn and Teller thing and have the same show in the same auditorium for the next 30 years, then it's definitely doable. And Branson is as good a place as any, especially given that's probably a place that needs the message anyway, right? And it's something that'd be fairly easy for people to get to, as opposed to, central Pennsylvania or central Nebraska.
Well, look, I mean, people in middle America don't get this message, right? People on the coast gets this message. Right? I think if we went to the belly of the beast, pun intended, we can probably help a lot of people out. And no, I'm not thinking residency, but what if I went to Branson 12 times a year, once a month, or 10 times a year, right? And just did my thing. Let's say it's a club that goes, oh, wait, this guy filled up the house. Let's bring him back. Right. Then I could get my message out there more and more.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, the other option is you can make it a road show too, right? Hey, I'm going to be in this place. Now that we know that the format works, that we can get people there, find a venue and do it there.
Yeah, look, I mean, I just want to see if it works. Before, I would get hired through speakers bureaus and this and that and the whole thing and whatever. I'm thinking just doing this myself. Maybe get a call into my buddy Mike August, who knows how to book shows, and see if Mike can get me booked in somewhere. Like a small arena, like a 99-seater, not one of these. I don't know, how big are the clubs in Branson? I've never really been to Branson. How big are the clubs? I mean, what are we talking multi?
I mean, you got to have stuff of all different shapes and sizes, right?
Yeah.
So to say, 100-person theater, there's going to be a handful of those at Branson.
Yeah. So, okay, I've talked this to death. So you didn't laugh at the idea, and you actually talked to me about it, which means that you seem to be okay with it.
Well, I mean, okay, so this isn't something you're just inventing out of nowhere. It's something you did in the past. I think the only reason I think that you thought I might laugh is because you said Branson, right?
Well, it's the most unlikely place in the world to do it, but I'm trying to think, okay, where can I fly into that's fairly easy from where I'm sitting right now in middle America? And Branson comes to mind.
Yeah.
That's all.
I think show number 2 should be in Pigeon Forge, just so you can go to Dollywood after. But
how far? I Pigeon Forge I can actually drive to from where I am.
Yeah, that's not too far from you.
Yeah, find out how far it is to drive from Charlottesville to Branson, and then Charlottesville to Pigeon Forge. So we're going to talk to Charles here, and then I want you to have those two distances ready for me when we're done with that.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's see what Charles said. And we got Charles on the line here. Charles?
Give me that thumbs up if you're ready to come on in, brother.
All right. Yes. Hey, man.
Hi there.
It's been a minute since we've spoken. How are you doing?
It has been. I'm doing all right.
Now, Charles, if I remember right, you have bad knees and you're a skier, or you were a skier and you want to get back to skiing.
No, I have one bad knee. My other knee is great. But yeah, I hurt my knee playing hockey. I've been skiing my whole life. I still ski. In fact, I went skiing mid last week.
Nice.
Probably going to go on Wednesday.
Where's your hometown ski? What are you?
I'm near Bend, Oregon. I don't live there, but I'm close to it.
Okay.
Central Oregon.
My yearly pass used to be at Mammoth, right? Mm-hmm. So just like you, the eastern, the Sierras are up over in the north. you know, well, you know, Northwest area,
Mm-hmm.
which is different than, you know, Colorado and Utah and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the tickets would go up every year, but you know, if you were like a yearly ski pass member, you know, you would get the blah, blah, blah for $300 or $400 for the whole year, $1,000 or whatever. Everyone's telling me now in the United States, like a regular 1-day pass, if you don't have the yearly pass or whatever, I've heard numbers of $250.
Oh yeah.
I've heard numbers of $350 for
Oh,
1
yeah.
day of skiing.
Oh yeah.
What is that all about? Like everyone's telling me you might as well get a flight to Europe where it's still $70 a day.
Because the industry has gone to a subscription model. They want you to buy their pass, and these big resort companies own multiple ski hills all over the world, and they sell you a pass, an Epic Pass, an Icon Pass, an Altera Pass, whatever. They sell these passes at a pretty significant discount, and so they get the revenue whether you show up or not, which is how they make their money. So I buy a season's pass. It's just for weekdays only because
Mhm.
I'm an old guy and I'm not working all week, so I can go during the week when it's a lot less crowded. And so I buy that every year. But the industry has shifted entirely to the pass model. So even if you're going for 1 week, buying the pass is probably a better deal than buying a ticket every day.
Really? All right. So you have the during the week pass.
Yes.
Okay. If you don't mind me asking, what does that cost for a year?
About $1,000.
Okay. So you ski 10 times and it's $100,
Yeah.
right? You ski 20 times, it goes down to 50.
Yep.
Yeah, I used to get the Mammoth Pass, but I would get, you know, because I was training people all week and I would drive up on Friday night,
Mhm.
ski Saturday and Sunday, and I did the non-restriction pass. I could go Christmas, New Year's,
Yeah.
you know, the whole deal. And, you know, that was back when tickets were, you know, $65, $75, $85. But I skied somewhere between 30 and 40 days per year.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because we had a long ski season there.
Yep.
And, you know, at Christmas time, I would get 7 or 8 days in right around that time, right, when all my clients were gone. And when you think about, and the other cool thing about getting the pass was that, you know, you didn't feel like you had to ski all day to get your money's worth. You know, I could go out and cross country ski in the morning
Mm-hmm.
and then grab some lunch, get some energy in me, and go downhill all afternoon.
Yeah.
Right. When everyone else was getting tired and lazy and leaving the mountain, that's when I would hop on the mountain.
Yeah. I like to actually do I'm an early riser. I like to get up there before the lists start turning and then
Yeah.
be like first in line. And then I just ski my ass off as fast as I can, just nonstop runs, doing laps until either I get tired or the crowd show up. And when the crowd show up and I have to start waiting in lift lines, I'm like, I bail out then.
Well, you know, the beauty with Mammoth was that the mountain was so big that I was able to, you know, if we went early in the morning, you know, get that first lift up to get to the top of the mountain, right? So once you got up there was never any lines, right? So if you were chair 5, chair 3, Lincoln Mountain, all these different areas where, you know, it was all black or double black, then you're not going to have the crowds, right? You're not going to have the people doing pizzas down the hill trying to learn how to ski.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, when we went for the whole day but you know, mid-season you get tired of just skiing all day downhill, and cross country is a good crossover for cycling and everything else. And, you know, you get a good sweat going in the morning, you go back to your room, you take all those clothes off, get dry clothes on, and then go for the afternoon. I just love doing it that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I hear you.
So tell me about it since the last time we've spoken.
Sure. A couple updates. I am losing weight, which is nice. Hopped on the scale actually yesterday morning and down about 6 pounds. So that felt good. Good to see. Prior to that, I had a lot of non-scale victories, but I'm starting to see them there too. Also, I had an epiphany
Mm,
about I was listening to one of your podcasts and I don't remember what triggered it, but I have spent my life kind of babying this knee, really listening to it and kind of letting it lead the way. But I had an epiphany about, I don't know, 2, 3 weeks ago, uh, that, hey, I'm on the last few miles of this knee. It's going to be going away
right.
in less than 2 months. And so it's like, it's going to be all new, brand new. I have to break it in, but
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about it telling me what I can and can't do anymore. So I've just started walking more. I usually, limit my walking to where it starts hurting and then I stop, but I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to keep going. You know what the epiphany was? I was reading your book. I was on a flight and I was reading your book, the story at the end about the long bicycle race that you did
Yeah.
and how
The
difficult
508.
it was. Yeah. And it was that kind of hit me in the head. It's like, you know what? I might hurt myself, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to get it fixed no matter what, very shortly. So I've just been kind of letting my goals drive me instead of my knee hold me back. That was my epiphany.
And look, for you, that's a good thing. That's the equivalent of, you're old enough to know this, Charles. When I was young, back when cars had carburetors, points, condensers, and the whole deal, but today, no one knows that. Like, everyone knew how to change spark plugs,
Yep.
points, and condensers, right? And if your car wouldn't start, you knew that you got some moisture underneath your distributor cap, so you would take it off, dry it up, put a little ether on it, put it back on. Everybody knew the basic tenets of why a car was running rough, right? But if you woke up in the morning and your car was, running rough, what did you do? You just mashed that. You had it not in gear. You just had it in idle, and you would just mash the accelerator and blow it out, right?
Yep.
That's how you fix it. It's kind of like the equivalent of today. When your computer doesn't work, we just unplug it and plug it back in, and it works.
Yep.
Yeah. When your car ran rough, just put it in neutral and blow it out.
It's called an Italian tune-up, not to like cast aspersions in your particular direction, but yes.
But it worked.
It worked, yes.
And by the way, Italian cars are like that. I had an Alfa Romeo once, and the problem with those cars is, they all had these weird double overhead cams, and the timing. So what people didn't know about an Alfa Romeo, and it's kind of the same with a Ferrari, which I've never owned, but the way you kept those cars tuned up. And by the way, folks, this is back when you had to shift through gears, right? You had 3 pedals on the floor. Every Italian mechanic would tell you the car will keep running well if you wind out every gear. And if you're in mid-city, just keep it in first or second and keep, wind those cars out, keep them near red line. And turns out it actually worked with my Alfa Romeo Spider Veloce.
Yep.
You just had to keep it near red line.
Had to blow out that carbon.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It wasn't just the carbon. It somehow kept the car in time, right? It would never jump time. But if you try to lug it, and look, they tell you that with motorcycles. Don't lug it, right? Run high RPMs on some of these faster bikes. Again, I've had Ducatis, right? Don't lug your Ducati. They tell you that at the Ducati shop. Do not lug this bike ever.
Yep.
Run high RPMs. That's what you're doing to your knee.
That's what I'm doing to my knee. That's for sure.
Is it hurting more, or is it correcting it?
No, it's hurting more. I mean, it's arthritic. I've got no cartilage left in there.
Yeah,
It's
so there's no
bone, and
that.
yeah. You can't make that better.
Yeah, but look, when I knew in those bike races, when I knew I wasn't hurting myself, I was just in pain. I would just let my brain, absorb and, just buy into the pain, right? Just love where I was. And I think I use this term in the book. I would hit those pedals as if I hated them. I would just grind those pedals as if I was mad at them, and as long as you know you're not hurting yourself, you're just in pain from riding for 30 hours or whatever amount of time you're on the bike, then you're okay, right? You need to know the difference between real pain and fake pain. But now you're in a position where you know that you're going to be getting a freshly minted, you're going to have that new knee smell.
That's right. A complete overhaul.
Oh, yeah. Cobalt and titanium sitting
That's
on
right.
a piece of plastic. Yep. That's what they're getting ready to do to you, brother.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to skiing even better next year.
Yeah, look, I'm looking forward for you. Maybe I need to come up to your area and do a little skiing, get a few turns.
Sure. I think we got the best snow on the West Coast here.
I got to tell you, every year I've been saying I'm getting back to skiing, but then I had to take over purevitaminclub.com.
Mm-hmm.
And that pretty much takes up all of my time. So I don't have time for fun right now. I know I'm talking big about trying to go to Branson. What do you think of my Branson idea? Any thoughts?
While I was waiting, I looked to see how long it would take to drive there. It's a 42-hour drive from where I am.
Oh boy.
So I'll pass on that.
No, I don't blame.
If that doesn't give you an idea of how big the United States actually is,
Oh yeah.
nothing will. Right?
So,
you're like, oh, it's a 6-hour flight coast to coast. But if we drive it, it's 42 hours from not the coast, not quite the coast, to the middle of the country.
Well, Chris, when you think about it, when I fly from here to Los Angeles, it's 5 hours or 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
When I fly from here to Europe, it's 6 hours, right? So think about that. Yeah. So, Chris, apparently Charles is not going to drive the 42 hours. What a pussy. But come on, dude, you could drive 42 hours. I could see if it was 43 hours. That's kind of where you draw the line, but 42?
Well, it just depends on how often you have to stop. And I know, Vinny, you asked me to take a quick look. So it's about 5.5 hours from your place to Pigeon Forge, which sounds about right, because it's like 81
I drive near that. Yeah, whenever I go to Louisiana, I drive pretty close to Dollywood.
It would just be 81 to 40, I think. And then it's another 10-ish hours from there to Branson.
All right. So for me to get to Branson would be 15 hours, or can I do a straight shot to Branson? Oh, you mean straight shot from my house to Branson is 15 hours?
So from Pigeon Forge to Branson is another 10. From your place to Branson, it's actually almost exactly the same. It's like a 15-minute difference to have a stopover in Branson.
All right, so wait. From my house to Branson is what? No Pigeon Forge in between.
15 and a half.
Okay, my house to Pigeon Forge
was like a little over 5.
Okay.
And then from Pigeon Forge to Branson was a little over 10. So it's like a 15 or 20-minute difference.
Okay. So I can do a drop in to Dollywood. I don't think Charles is going to do that trip because that's got to be like 50 hours for him. Right? No way he's doing that. He's balking at 43, so I don't think he's going to do 50. I wonder if I could do Pigeon Forge. Pigeon Forge is not close to the middle of the country, though, is it?
It's East Tennessee. I mean, it's on the Pigeon Forge is the Smoky Mountains, so that
28 hour, no, 46 hours.
Yeah, you see, that's right over Charles's limit.
Yeah,
okay.
And I got to say that drive for him would be a hell of a lot more boring because it probably takes him through Nebraska. No offense to our friends in Nebraska, but there's nothing there. And
Idaho, Wyoming, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, or North Tennessee.
Yeah. So, look, Dollywood is another place I wouldn't mind going to do this. So, yeah, and that's a drive for me. You know,
enjoy that. I mean, you like the Smokies, so you'd have fun in Dollywood.
The Smokies, yeah. I've never been to Dollywood, and I've always wanted to go. And that sounds crazy. That might be something I do around Christmas time next year. Is go to Dollywood, check it out. Maybe I'll see Dolly herself.
You got to drive basically through Pigeon Forge to see your parents anyway from where you are.
Yeah, I see the signs as I'm driving through there. It's like Dollywood coming up. right? I drive very close to there whenever I drive to Louisiana.
Gina would go with you.
Oh, Gina Grant, absolutely. If I said, Gina, meet me in Dollywood, I wouldn't even have to say would. I would just say Dolly, and she would be there.
In there, yeah.
Yeah.
Where would she fly into? Knoxville, or
Probably.
or Charlotte, maybe.
Both of them are fairly close.
They would both be closer, I think, than Nashville. But
I flew into Charlotte. I was on a layover, and my flight got canceled. I just rented a car and drove the rest of the way here.
I think I told you when I was coming back at Christmas, I flew through Charlotte because I know if I get stranded there, worst case, I can rent a car and it's a 7-hour drive back to my parents' place, or a couple-hour drive down to my aunt, or like there's a bunch of people around there. So I purposely fly through Charlotte for exactly that reason.
All right. I don't want to turn this into a geography lesson. Charles, good job, brother.
I got two more bits of news for you.
Oh, great.
Just in terms of update. I'm a diabetic. I wear a CGM. I love it. It's really been a game changer for me. And it's helped me, along with this way of eating, of staying within the normal range.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have recalibrated my normal range downward about 10%, because I never get above what it used to be considered normal, which is 170 mmol or mg or whatever it was. So I've cranked that down to 160, and also lowered the low end, because I tend to stay down towards the bottom end of the scale. So that's kind of a good thing. Also, I just wanted to, I bought one of those little meters. You asked me to track my state of ketosis.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought one of those, and I've been having nothing but trouble. I'm on my second one.
Which one did you get?
I didn't know if I wanted to say this because I'm about to
say
kick their ass. Keto Mojo.
I knew it. Everyone had it. Look, everyone. Oh, I love the Keto Mojo. Did I not tell you to get the Precision Extra?
No, because I bought it before you told me. But
do yourself a favor.
Okay, what is it?
I'm
going to write it down.
Get the Precision Extra.
Okay, I've written it down. Because here's my deal. I have a CGM. I have, several glucometers. And whenever I test my glucose with the Keto Mojo, it's way off. I mean, way off. 20%, 40% higher off. And it's always high. I can take, my CGM will say I'm at 101. And then my glucose meter will say I'm at 100. I test with the Keto Mojo. It says I'm at 140. And it just pisses me off, because then I know whatever else it's measuring can't be calibrated either. So really, really frustrated. I spent a lot of time on support with them trying to figure this thing out. So yes, I'll try this other one because
it's made by Abbott. I'm looking it up.
Okay.
I said it's about $25. Yeah, I'm seeing it from $24.58 to $27. It works like a charm.
Okay.
And here's the deal. You buy if you want, you could buy the glucose strips and the keto strips.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get like a bunch of them all together, a big gaggle of them,
yep,
it's way cheaper. Buy them on Amazon. Buy all of it on Amazon. Go through VinnieCharters.com. And you're gonna find it for about $25. Okay. Just like with the Keto Mojo, the strips are expensive. There'll be less than $1 a day for the strips, and the glucose strips are even cheaper. But you don't really need the glucose strips because you have the CGM.
Yes. So
just get the keto strips. I think those are the ones that come in the pink. It looks pinkish, and the glucose is the bluish looking, purple blue looking package. At any rate, get that. It calibrates itself every single time to whichever strip you put in it. I knew as soon as you said I was having trouble, I knew you were going to say Keto Mojo. Look, I don't make a dime from telling people to buy either one of them. But every time I talk to someone and I'll say, well, didn't I tell you to buy the Precision? Yeah, but I read, I did a reading, and they said Keto Mojo is the best one. It's like, okay, why in the hell did you even ask my opinion? I'm not yelling at you, Charles, because you didn't ask my opinion. But now I'm telling you, get the one that works. The one I have
yeah.
right now, probably about 8 years old, and it still works like a charm.
Okay. It's funny. I just brought it up on Amazon, and the Keto Mojo ad pops right up on the top.
Yep.
Yeah, but I assumed it was doing. I didn't even use it for glucose for a long time, but I noticed. I always used to say I became an expert in my field because I read the fucking manual.
Right.
So I read through the manual, and it uses the glucose to actually do a calculation to tell you where you are in ketosis, blah, blah, blah. So I figured I'll start doing that too. And that's when I found out it was just so way off, and, started trying to figure out how to fix that. But now I'll just get the other one and go from there.
The early Mojos were so, just, calibration problems and the whole thing. And that's when I just had enough of them. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just started telling people, get the one that works. So there you have it. Charles,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Love having you on. Keep up the great work. And hopefully one day we'll be skiing together.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I'll show you where all the good stuff is.
Yeah. I want the good pow, as the kids call it.
Mm-hmm.
They can't even say powder anymore. Pow.
No.
It's like, come on,
much
you
work.
can't finish the word. Come on.
It's that second syllable.
Yeah. It's just too much. There he goes. There's Charles. Chris. Yeah, I don't want to get into it. I was gonna go back into the Keto Mojo, but I know it sounds like I'm passionate about this, but I talk to people on the phone all the time. Sometimes there are people who I talk to over and over and over, right? They do the consults. And when I hear that, I just go, didn't I tell you to buy the other one? Yeah. Why'd you get this one? Well, I read the reviews. I'm the review. That's it. Take my review. Who else do we have there tonight, Chris?
We got our buddy Mark coming in from Boiling Springs. Mark, if you have your camera ready to rock and roll, we can bring you on in. Give me that thumbs up if you're ready to come on in. There he is. I know he's been skiing those big mountains up there in the Appalachians.
Not too big. I'm just about 200 miles north of Vinnie at the very end of the Blue Ridge Mountains. And we got a little tiny hill here that's part of that epic property. I got that pass. It's good pretty much all over the world, but mostly at my local place.
Cool.
But
how many days are you getting in per year?
Well, I only did 3 this year, only because my 70th birthday was a couple of weeks ago. We had some family in from out of town and did some road tripping.
Nice.
So, yeah, the weather's gotten a little warmer, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get back there this season. Depends on what the conditions look like. But fortunately, I've got all the original equipment, no problems with knees or hips or any of that stuff. So if I can still ski at 70, I'm happy with that.
Hey, more power to you, brother. I mean, I always wonder when my hips are going to go, when my knees are going to go, because I've been doing athletics my whole life. I've used the crap out of my body, right? So hopefully my genetics will keep holding up, and I'll hit 70. That's only 8 years for me, and I'll still be doing it all, right? Climbing mountains and doing all of it.
And that's the other thing I do, not mountain climbing, but I do a lot of hiking. My property here borders the Appalachian Trail, so going out tomorrow morning with a group that I hike with at least once a week, and I do a lot of that, a lot of ups and downs on that.
Yeah, the AT Trail. The AT Trail goes kind of right through my backyard too. It takes me about 5 to 7 miles to get to it, right? But
Yeah.
it's right there. On the weekends we go up to the AT Trail and hike along. And coming up soon, we're going to start seeing the through hikers. You start seeing them this time of year.
They just started a couple of days ago, I heard, down in Georgia.
Yeah, so we're going to start seeing those guys soon enough, right? And it's always kind of cool to walk along and talk to them while you're hiking up there. Just get their thoughts and perspectives on things. Because by the time they get here, they've been at it for a while.
Yeah, they get to where I live in Boiling Springs, usually around beginning and middle of June. The northbound people do. So we see a lot of them, and we stop and talk and find out their trail names and get their stories.
Any trail angels where you guys live?
Yeah, there's one about 15 miles away that sets up. Usually during the summer, they'll have breakfast for the through hikers and stuff like that. And my wife and I have done a little bit of trail angling ourselves, mostly giving people a lift or, dropping them off somewhere. One guy needed some new shoes and went to the local REI, and we thought we were dropping them off about 15 minutes from here, but it turned out it was about an hour away.
Oh,
But that's
wow.
all right.
Yeah. There's a place where we hit the AT, not the 6 mile distance, but there's another hike we go on because it's steep and I like to do it. It's steep and it's hard. So I use it for training. It's about a 35 to 45-minute drive. And there's a couple of trail angel truck, like pickup trucks. You'll see the back tailgate open with the ice chest there and every, and it's the trail angels. For everyone else, folks, people that hike the AT, the Appalachian Trail, how many miles is it? Is it 25?
21 something, almost 2,200.
Yeah. And then there's the Pacific Coast Trail, which is, that's the one, if you saw the movie with Reese Witherspoon about the woman who walked that trail, I want to say it's about the same distance, right? Do you know?
I think they might be a little bit longer, I think.
Yeah, it goes a little further.
They don't necessarily have as much vertical as the Appalachian Trail, just because they call them the PUDs, the pointless ups and downs. So you actually wind up doing more vertical, even though the elevation isn't as high on the Appalachian.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So AT is supposed to be a tougher trail. And
PCT is about 400 miles longer. So the Appalachian Trail is like 2,200. PCT, if I remember right, is like 25 and change, almost 26. But almost all of that's at elevation, right? So to Mark's point, you're not going up and down, but you are a mile in the air.
A lot of snow, and they hit a lot. You got to time that one more because of snow and everything else. Chris, look up the book that became the movie that Reese Witherspoon was in. That got a lot of women going, "Hey, I want to go hike the Pacific Coast Trail," and I can't think of the name. The book might have been called Hike.
Wild.
Into the Wild or something?
No, not Into the Wild. That was John Krakauer's book about the guy that died. You're thinking
I think Wild is in the name, though.
It's just called Wild.
That's the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I'm getting ready to hike the Camino de Santiago in May with my wife. I did it 3 times already.
Really? Are you doing the whole thing?
We're going to do probably half of it this summer and do the second half at a later date. I did it all at once 3 years ago, but that's about 500 miles.
Yeah, that's been on my list. I want to do it with Serena, right? So that makes it more difficult because, as we mentioned, the reason I'm not skiing anymore is because it wasn't enough that I made documentaries and, do all this stuff and everything else. I've now had to take over one of my companies because it was failing, right? And it was the vitamin company, and we've brought it back. But between myself and Chris will tell you there is no downtime. So doing anything like walking the Santiago is not going to happen because I'm working full time. Serena works alongside me full time, and Chris is on it full time. We cannot walk away and say, "Hey, Chris, handle it. We'll be back after we walk 500 miles." That just won't work.
Well, I have to tell you, I brought a bunch of nut butters on all of my Caminos so far.
How do you like the nut butters?
I like them a lot.
Yeah.
They're easy to carry. Everyone else is, eating candy and cookies and fig bars and stuff, and I just pull out my nut butter.
Yeah. We're getting ready. We're taking that company into the next phase too, because, I took that over too. It wasn't in shambles the way the vitamin company was, but it was getting there. And we're going to a different system to make everything better. Wouldn't you say, Chris?
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And I know, speaking of the Pacific Crest Trail, we just had somebody order a boatload because they're planning, I think he said he's planning a through hike. So Jeff, if you're listening, we're thinking about you today.
Yeah. There are a lot of people who, like people that do the Badwater 135, we got that coming up, Chris. So we need to stock up for that. We got all the people that, start doing all these crazy trips, a lot of rim to rim to rim on the Grand Canyon, the low carbers all use ultra. Folks, if you don't know what nut butter we're talking about, it's called ultra fat. It's my company. You know, I made this thing for athletes, and everyone else uses it too. But we have that time of year where we start selling nut butter. Is it 8 or 10 times the amount that we sell the rest of the year, Chris? The next couple,
About eight and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a crazy amount of nut butter because everyone has realized that, oh, you know, we have this ultra fat, and basically what it is, it's if you're not familiar with it, folks, it's almond butter mixed with MCT oil from coconut oil, mixed with our electrolyte, our ultra salt, and it makes for a great taste, and it's really smooth, long-term energy. But Mark, you've used it on these long hikes, so you want to speak to it?
Yeah, I mean that's not the only thing I use. When you hike on the Camino, it's not quite like the Appalachian Trail. You're not camping. You're not carrying your own food. You're going through towns every day. And what I would do, and pretty much any place you go in Spain, you're going to get bread. You're going to get the Spanish tortilla, which is basically an egg and potato omelet. And just to avoid that kind of stuff, a lot of places would sell boiled eggs, and I'd buy avocados. So that was kind of like the main thing I was eating during the day, other than, you know, having a meal at night in a town. But the nut butter was, you know, I always knew I had that available if I couldn't find a store that had what I wanted.
There's also a great movie about the Santiago, starring Martin Sheen. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yes. Yeah, I actually I saw it after I had decided to do the Camino.
Really?
Yeah, it's called The Way, and they actually they were filming a sequel last year, I think. I'm not sure if it's out yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Emilio Estevez was director of that.
What are they calling it? The Other Way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Way
I haven't
Home.
heard if there's a title yet. But that's a very accurate depiction of the kind of interrelationships you have when you're on the trail. You just meet people. In fact, a group of people that I met 3 years ago, we're going to do a reunion over there for about 6 days from Pamplona, the end of this month. And it's just people from Germany, Ireland, England, Italy, France, all these different people you meet along the way. And, you know, the people that are hiking about your same pace, you wind up in the same towns periodically, and you get together, and you really get to know each other pretty well walking all day.
You know, it's interesting because the movie The Way, you know, the whole idea is Emilio Estevez, who I think directed the movie.
Yeah,
he's a young guy, and he was getting ready to walk to Santiago, and he dies somehow, not on the trail. He just dies, and he was estranged from his father, but his father goes to collect his body, if I remember right, and his ashes, and all of the gear is already there. The guy was getting ready to take off, and Martin wanted to learn about his son. And he thought, well, my son was way into this hiking and all this kind of stuff. I'm going to pick up his gear and go do his walk for him. And I'm going to watch that movie tonight. I haven't seen it in years. And it's just an excellent movie. And you're telling me the Santiago is somewhat like that? Is that what I'm hearing?
It really is, in the sense of the kind of people you meet and the relationships you form, you know, not knowing them for a very long time, but just walking day after day after day with them. You know, nobody was carrying ashes or anything, but some people were, you know, they were walking for various reasons. Some it's a religious thing, some it's adventure, some it's a cultural thing. Because you're walking through some really historic places in Spain.
I have 2 of my dog's ashes right up here on the shelf. You can't see it from here. It's on that shelf. Sophie and Stella, I might take their ashes because they used to love a good hike. That's why whenever I do the Santiago, I'm going to take some of my dog's ashes just to take.
I'll highly recommend it.
That should be a fun thing to take through TSA.
Yeah. What do you have in there? What do you got there, boys? Some cocaine? Nope. I got some dog ashes. Take my dogs for a walk. You got a problem, TSA? Come on.
Yeah, Emilio Estevez's character dies the first day because you go from, if you start on the Camino Frances, which is the most prevalent one, you start in France, and the first day you cross the Pyrenees into Spain. and it's not even open right now. It doesn't open until sometime in April because of snow.
Right.
And he got caught in a snow squall or something and died in the movie.
Yeah, I couldn't remember how he died, but I will be watching again in about an hour. Because and folks, if you want to see a great movie, go watch The Way, and you also watch Wild and read the book Wild, because the book is, the books are always better than the movie version because it's hard to get all the stuff in the movie. And the book Wild was really good. True story about a drug abuser, and she was battered. I think she was battered, and she got her stuff together and started walking. Right, I love those stories. It's like real life Forrest Gump in a weird sort of way. And by the way, the movie Into the Wild by John Krakauer, who I don't really care for anymore because he lied so much about Into Thin Air. That book was all based on, it was a witch hunt. And I knew people who were up there on Everest that year. And I know the real story. And I know that that book is just total fiction. But even the people, the family members of that guy, what was his name? He called himself something Supertramp. He came from a really rough family. His family they had a lot of money, but no love in the family. And he gave up all of his worldly goods and walked into an area in Alaska to live on his own, and ended up dying of malnutrition. And
he went to Denali, right?
Can't remember exactly where he went, but he couldn't make it. Yeah, he ended up dying. It's a good movie. Just, can't remember the guy's name. He called himself something Supertramp.
Alex or Alexander.
Alexander Supertramp, yeah. See, I can remember that because when you read the book, I remember, books. But what do you want to talk about today, Mark? Anything special?
Not really. I just thought this was going to be another VIP session. I didn't realize it was going to be for the show.
Well, you're on the show, pal.
Okay. Well, I did want to do a consultation a few months ago, and it didn't happen. But next week I'm getting my blood drawn for my annual checkup, and I stopped taking a statin a couple of years ago and got a pretty high level of cholesterol, and kind of scared me, freaked me out. So I went back on it. But my doctor really doesn't understand, the changes in the science, and as far as what cholesterol does and what's a good amount or what's a bad amount, or is that even significant? And I think I asked Chris back when I first joined the VIP group, how do you find a doctor that understands this stuff? Because I really don't know how to go about doing that.
You can go call Tortorich. He's the most. All right, so Tortorich can help you. TRO. Right, find something to write.
Yep.
By the way, I don't get paid to tell people about these people. Bottom line. Dr. TRO is his first name.
Okay.
Kalajian, KALAJIAN. I'm guessing. If you put in Tro and then put in KALA, you'll come up with Kalajian.
The easy way to find it is tord.health.
Toward Health?
Yeah.
Tord.health
is his domain now, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also,
because no one could spell his name, so he changed it to something people could understand.
So the other one is Dr. Brian Linskus. Dr. Brett Shear, if you could get him on the line, and let all of any one of these people say, "Hey, Vinnie gave me the recommendation."
Okay.
Philip Avadia is a cardiologist. He's good at it. Brett Shear is also a cardiologist. But I'm going to be honest. Philip Avadia, good friend of mine, he set up like some kind of concierge thing where you got to buy in, and it's a big amount of money and the whole thing. You don't want all that, right? You don't need to spend thousands, and it's not cheap. People have written to me, hey, that's why I quit. Even though I love the guy, I quit recommending that people, because you got to buy into the whole service. And these other doctors will talk to you for a few bucks, right? And give you the same information. So I have nothing bad to say about Philip Avadia. He's been on the show. I love the guy. He's got great information. Just know that if you go in that, you might get sticker shock with him. I'm always honest with people. That's what this show is all about. Because high cholesterol is not a death sentence. As a matter of fact, the more cholesterol you have, the healthier you will be, right? And you go, what about heart disease? I don't know. Do you have small dense particles? What's your ratio between your triglycerides and your LDLs and your HDLs? There's all kinds of stuff.
I tried to get a particle test, and they didn't know what I was talking about. So that's why I'm looking for somebody else who understands this stuff.
That's why you should ask your doctor if you should get your right arm cast. It's like, why would I put a cast? It's like, I don't know. You want to give me a drug and you don't know that I have a problem. So why not throw a cast on my right arm? Throw one on my leg while you're at it, or your leg's not broken. Well, okay. We all understand that, right? Yep. We also understand that low cholesterol is associated with high cancer risk. Low cholesterol, not high, right? I had Zoe Harcombe on the show just a few weeks ago. This very same Friday show. She was like, why would we try to get rid of something we need in every cell of our bodies to live, for these cells to propagate and be healthy? Right? Why would we do that? It makes zero sense. But hey, I'm just a nut job on the internet with a tinfoil hat. So I'm telling you, go listen to the doctors that know what the hell they're talking about. Get a real answer. Get a real blood workup. Right? Because most doctors, when you say particle test, doctors will always show their ass. They'll go, we don't do that here. What he's saying is, I have no idea what you're talking about. And if I got you to get that particle test, I have no idea how to read it. They know nothing about it.
They did prescribe a CAC test about 2 years ago when I asked them for it. And of course, I had to pay for it myself. It's $100. And I think it came out okay. I mean, it wasn't zero, but everything was zero except the LAD, which was 30. And the lady who did the test says, oh, man, that looks pretty good. Mine's in the hundreds.
Okay, so if you have a 30 and you were 68 at the time, if you said a couple of years ago, you might as well be at zero. I would tell you, stay out of the way of a bus, because you have a greater chance of getting run over by a bus than having any kind of heart disease.
Well, that's good to hear.
Don't take my word for it. Go get in touch with one of these doctors, because
I
don't want someone to go, well, Mark dropped dead of a massive coronary the other day. I was like, why is that? Well, because you told him. No, I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm telling you what the truth is, and go investigate. And I'm not just talking to you, Mark. I'm talking to the tens of thousands of people who are going to listen to this podcast.
Understand.
Right. By the way, where do you live, Mark?
Pennsylvania, Boiling Springs.
Chris, how long is it from Boiling Springs, Pennsylvania to Branson?
I already looked.
15 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, but you can fly there for little or nothing, right? Right, Mark?
I just drove to Florida and back.
Well, look, you're like me. You like to drive. Yeah. I'm not afraid of flying. I fly when I have to. But if I could take a nice road trip to Branson and get a bunch of my friends to show up, would you show up if I was doing Branson? Would you come? Would you be there?
Yeah, possibly.
You probably talk your wife into walking it. Hey, honey, we could start our own Santiago right here.
Well, she's a big country music fan, so she might want to go there. She'd go to Dollywood, too, for the same reason.
How far is it, Chris, from Boiling Springs to Dollywood?
8 hours.
8 hours. Boom.
Yeah. And it's 81 south. It's not all that hard.
We'd be on that same 81. Yeah, we'd be on the same road.
Corolla was just talking about Branson this morning on his show. He was interviewing Yakov Smirnov. I guess has a theater there. And
you know
been
what?
Playing there for 30 some years.
That's what gave me the idea.
Ah,
because I've been a Yakov. I don't get to hear Carolla very often, but this morning I looked and went, oh, Yakov is going to be on.
mhm.
When I was a kid, he was like the coolest comedian around. And I just thought that he quit doing comedy. He was like, no, after the Berlin Wall came down, you know, Mr. Gorbachev tearing on that wall. He goes, my career was over with. Those jokes didn't work anymore. And I don't know if you heard it, but he said that Willie Nelson said, go to Branson. And that's when I went, wait a minute. Midwest? That's my peeps. I could probably get Kurt Lapierre to show up, right? I could probably get Robin Dobbins and her husband to show up, Mr. Dobbins, right? Get all these people to show up. We all show up in Branson and just have a big wing ding, big hog slaying, as we like to call it down in Louisiana, right? Let's do it. Chris, we got to make this Branson thing happen.
Yeah, it'd be about 6. It's like 15, 20 minutes more for the Dobbinses than it would be for you. But that's about halfway. So it's not too bad.
I wonder if I could get a Bond girl to show up.
Well, if you're going, there would be at least one there.
Yeah, well, she doesn't go with me whenever I do my talks, but
I have a Bond Girl question for you, Vinny.
all right, go on.
I love her recipes, and Bond Girl chicken is one of them. At Trader Joe's, stopped carrying that kohlrabi pasta. What does she use instead?
She usually nothing because,
No.
you know, kohlrabi, she was doing it with kohlrabi, but I would just have her do the chicken and put it on the plate. She does that, right? It's like, because I don't really eat vegetables anyway, you know, but she'll just throw it right on the plate. And that's the way I eat it. So you could do it without the kohlrabi.
Well, tell her keep up those recipes.
I will. She doesn't.
I make her shrimp risotto a la NSNG also.
Yeah. Or she would call it shrimp risotto. Shrimp risotto. Whatever.
Mark, you brought up something that's interesting. And I know in your case, it'd be like a half an hour drive. There's a LabCorp up on Walnut Bottom in Carlisle.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you need a test that your doctor won't give you, look at LabCorp or any of the places that do lab testing. You will almost always be able to walk in and do it for a substantially cheaper price than you will get it through your doctor anyway. The dirty secret is even if your doctor did it, they would still be sending it to LabCorp.
Okay.
So they're basically just white labeling their test and then they throw it in a drop box outside. It gets picked up and taken to a LabCorp or somebody else to actually do the analysis. And typically you can walk in and get it for just a few dollars. I don't know if that one specifically will do that test, but there's one in Mechanicsburg. There's one in York, and I know there's one in Harrisburg, but I think the Carlisle one would be the closest to you.
Okay.
It'd be like, what, 15, 20 minutes?
Oh, yeah. It's close.
Yeah. So go do that.
Yeah. They'll do the particle test, you think, Chris?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, here's the deal. Whichever doctor you call, Linsky's, Kalasian, or Brett Shear, or whatever, any of them, or if you call Avadi, I don't know who you're going to call. Just tell them you'll get the lab work done. And it is pennies on a dollar, right? When you just walk in. I've done that several times at different lab companies.
Okay.
So, yeah. Go do that and get with one of those guys and find out what's really going on. Right?
Yeah, I'd like to know.
But look, if you have a CAC of 30, I think we're good, right? I think we're good.
Yeah, it's good to hear.
Well, keep making your Bond girl delights. Weird. And I want to hear from you again, especially after the Santiago.
Okay. Sounds good.
Let me write down. I want to watch The Way tonight.
Mark, it looks like they have a couple different flavors of it. It's like $100.
Okay. That's worthwhile.
And they have appointments available as soon as tomorrow morning at 7:30, which is probably not what you want to do, but it's there. And you walk in as long as you meet the requirements, right? If it's something you have to fast for, they'll tell you that.
Right.
They draw your blood and you walk out.
Okay, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Cool. All right, Chris. I think we've done it, man.
Tortorich. Yeah, I know. We had somebody tonight, Vinny, who said they were too scared to come on.
Why?
I don't know. I think we bite, but they're gonna try to come on the next time.
I don't think Mark wanted to come on, but he thought it was a VIP call, so we snuck one in on him.
We did. We got him. We got him.
Yeah, just tell everybody it's a VIP call, and then we'll record them and put them out. No, I don't do that kind of stuff, folks. You heard it at the top of the show. We are back. NSNG Foods with the Ultra Fat. We also have coffee, a house, the honey process. We got the Athletic. We got the double French. And
we have a new Explorer.
The Explorer, yeah. Chris, you got, I gave you which one we're going to go with, right? Did I send you that message?
We did. I didn't, just based on the name of that, I didn't recognize it. What was the tasting notes on that?
Oh God.
Was that the lemony one or the other one?
No, I would have to go look because we wrote bag 1 and bag 2 on it because I like to taste it without, I like to just make it bag 1 and bag. I'm going to have to go look at the bags and I'll have to get back to you. You know what to do before we go shopping, before you go buy your Precision Extra, go to VinnieTortorich.com, click through the banner, and it puts a little coal on the fire. Lets my train get down the track. On behalf of Charles Thomas, Mark, and Chris Shaffer, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with just a little bit more